society under the name of Gideonites, wearing badges and emblems, but better known in the country, where it originated by the name of Orange. That these men had previously arranged and premeditated this assembly, and having provided themselves with arms level, set them against certain persons there on that occasion, and they had assailed and for the purpose of insulting them and triumphing over Catholicity, and with conduct calculated to produce terror and dismay, paraded this city on the 12th of July last in different directions per cent U2014 by their looks and general deportment taunting those around them, thereby committing a breach of the peace. That this procession afterwards moved to the Oddfellows Hall in 5th Street, where they were to dine. The mayor, having been called on and informed of the likelihood of a riot ensuing, was anxious to disperse the procession, and with that view went to the hall and cautioned the president of the society, who promised his honor that they would separate peaceably in half an hour, but instead of so doing moved trial for riot percent U25A00X Thursday, the 13th day of October, last. This most interesting trial was commenced in the mayor's court in the city of Philadelphia, before their honors the recorder and mayor and alderman Dwayne Petchett and Kean, when the following jury was sworn. Percent U2014 Charles Dean, Philip Mingle, William Taylor, William Wallace, Stokes Tomlin, Samuel Craig, W.H. Smith, Robert Wayford, George Scott, Matthew Chambers, Rufus L. Barnes, J.C. Douglas. It is necessary to state that this case involves two prosecutions, each for riot in the nature of the charge and cross-charge, one being at the suit of the Roman Catholics against the Protestants, the other at the suit of the Protestants against the Roman Catholics. Both issues were given to the jury. Counsel for the Protestants percent U2014 David Paul Brown, Joseph R. Ingersoll, and 11. Leo Bell, Esquires. Counsel for Roman Catholics percent U2014 G.O.M. Dallas, William Sampson, who was special, from New York, and W.W. Halley, Esquires. A short discussion took place between the respective counsel as to which trial should take precedence, when the court directed that against the Protestants should be first gone into. Patrick Riley, Patrick Lafferty, Edmund Schooley, Neil Harkin, Edward Devon, William O. Reynolds, Brian Mount, John Nally, Anthony McConville, James Duffy, William Fox, Barney Brown, James Oliver, Francis Riley, Patrick Brady, and Hugh Flanagan versus Britton Evans, James Carrick, Clifford Elliott, and Andrew Schmickren. The indictments having been read, to which the defendants pleaded the general issue, Mr. Halley, as counsel for the prosecution, opened the case by stating that the indictment charged the defendants with unlawfully assembling in this city, and having so unlawfully assembled, did make and cause a riot against the peace of the Commonwealth, C, that it was not a case of ordinary character, but one accompanied by circumstances very unusually brought under the consideration of a court of justice. It was fraught with intolerance and provocation on the part of the defendant, as he would sufficiently prove via the course of the investigation. It was a case involving the peace and happiness of the community in which CVC lives, and it was required, at the hands of the jury, tie this prosecution, and tie the Commonwealth, through their verdict, to suppress such processions in this country as had a tendency to disturb the quiet and concord of society. It would appear in evidence that the defendants and others constituted a society under the name of Gideonites, wearing badges and emblems, but better known in the country, where it originated by the name of Orange. That these men had previously arranged and premeditated this assemblage, and having provided themselves with arms level, the riot ensuing, was anxious to disperse the procession, and with that view went to the hall, and cautioned the president of the society, who promised his honor that they would separate peaceably in half an hour, but instead of so doing moved from in a body, with their weapons in formidable array, which at the door they brandished, and marched down Fifth Street with a character that denoted their hostile and evil intentions, as by carrying swords and playing anti-republican tunes, such as the boiling water, they caused and promoted a riot, wherein the life of one person of the name of Flanagan was jeopardized, and others severely hurt. That man was peaceably occupied in surveying with curiosity and astonishment the spectacle that was so novel to him, and being attracted toward the spot, though anxious to avoid any participation in the disturbance, but frightened at their menacing appearance, was returning, when he was struck a blow of a sword by one of the parts. Another individual was similarly treated. That this body, composing the procession, premeditated the meeting for the purposes of hostility, and that they belonged to a wicked and malignant institution, formed for the purpose of insulting and triumphing over Roman Catholics. The tendency of such institutions must be ever injurious in a free and tolerating country like this, where Protestants and Catholics, Presbyterians and Seceders are allowed the free exercise of their religious opinions. The evils from this hydra-headed monster must be evident to the conviction of every reasonable mind, and its tendency that of disturbing the peace and happiness of society. The first witness called was Hugh Flanagan, SW5RN per cent U 2014, examined by Mr. Halley, states that on the 12th of July, last witness went from his work in Spruce Street to 6th Street to get some money, which was due to him, and when returning, SA*Y crowd in Lombard Street, which he joined, and went.
Drawn swords across the neck by Britton Evans. Witness defended himself by throwing up his hands, received several blows on his arm. Witness also got cut on the head of a sword, but cannot swear it was from Evans, as the witness was falling. Evans made a thrust to him, which struck him in the ribs, could show the mark, and it grazed him. Evans drew his sword and struck him while getting up, which made him stagger back. Witness laid on the street and was blinded with blood, and when being insensible, does not know what had happened afterwards. The first thing witness remembers is two men being at his side, who took him on the hospital, where he remained until the 7th of September. The two men were strangers. Others struck him besides Evans, but witness does not know them. Witness was struck by a sword. It was not Evans who struck witness on the head. Witness saw a great many in procession, could not say how many, and they walked two and two. Saw Evans at the head, about a dozen carried swords or more or less, saw badges and ribands on them of orange color. Witness did not see any blows struck at any others. There was a great tumult. Several swords and belts and were here brought in by the court. Willis H. Bliney, his high constable. Cross-examined by Mr. Hubble, witness heard the sound of music from Lombard Street, where he boarded. It appears the drum, could not tell if there was any music. The sound came from the drum, of course. Saw the crowd afterwards, and then he saw the drum and the fife and the other kinds of instruments, but he could not describe them. Could swear the drum and fife, and the music played while men. When witness got to the crowd, saw several in procession, saw about a dozen with swords on Fish Street, and a crowd on the other side of the street behind him, but did not see any stones thrown. By Mr. Brown. Witness expected to get money that day from John Daly, who lived on 6th Street. Called at Daly's. It was his turn. From Daly's, Witness met the crowd. It was about 4 o'clock. Witness stopped at several houses in the course of the day. Had conversations there, but does not know what they were about. Witness did not know the procession was walking at that time. Witness is a laborer, and only drank 1 glass of gin that day, and that time by himself. Witness spoke to several persons during the time, did not speak to Mr. Evans or any of the defendants, did not speak to Mr. Carrick, nor to Neil Harkin, nor to Patrick Riley. Did not speak to any of the gathering that day. Witness went down the Lombard as far as Fish Street and could not pass Pine Street, in the consequence of the crowd. Witness turned to go up Pine Street. The crowd was going the same way, and the witness had not anything in his hand. Often had a thing in his hand, had nothing for fighting in his hand. Witness had a glass in his hand at Curran's. Witness had nothing in his hand when he met the crowd, until he saw the men, and then he had one of their arms in his hand. Mr. Evans coming along by his side as he had passed. Witness did not see the blow struck by any person before he was struck, did not see persons who he knew the opposite side. When Witness received the blow, he made 2 strokes of his hand to catch it, and did not get a chance to get away, did not look for a chance, as he saw such numbers behind him before. Witness then knew an assembly of men were gathered, did not know what religion or party they were of, was told that evening, did not until then know what they were, but had heard that they were Gideonites or Orangemen, was told in the hospital and on the way there, but does not know by whom, did not see any blows, though they might have been all around him. Witness knows none of the defendants, none of them called at the hospital, did not see any of his party that day. Jacob Albright, sworn, examined by Mr. Haley. Witness on the 12th of July last was going to 2nd Street, and then he had heard some music. Did not know that the Squire Evans was at the head of the procession. Witness was called on by John Coulter to attend the door at the Old Fellows' Hall. Knew that Mr. Evans was a magistrate, but did not know he was an Orangeman. Witness also saw Jerry Saunders there with a drawn sword, and others whom he knew. Witness waited till the procession passed, when he passed the Farmers and the Mechanics' Bank. Afterwards he met the procession at Chestnut Street going down 4th, and saw the same person in the processions whom was with Coulter. Witness was struck in the breast by the man with a fist. Witness collared him and brought him into the mayor's office. Had no previous knowledge of him, does not know him. He was arm in arm in the procession, and he had a badge on. Witness saw several badges and sashes on when he first saw them. Several of them in the procession had cravats on them of reddish-yellow color. They had drums and clarinets and other instruments. When the witness brought the person to the office, the mayor was not there. Saw Mr. Cash, the clerk, who went with the witness down to the riot. The prisoner was let go. Several persons from the office went with them to the hall. The witness saw a man at the hall who had a bayonet, and he had made a plunge of it at a witness, was struck several blows by a person who had followed him.